Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to the Robin's Nest. If you have not been, well, if you're here, you've been following the channel. But if you haven't seen some of my posts as of late, we are doing a fundraiser for my brother, my little brother. He is a year younger than me. I'm 36, so he's 35. He has multiple sclerosis. He has for several years now. He was diagnosed. I can't exactly remember the year, but anyways, we're doing a fundraiser because I'm trying to get him a mobility wheelchair, scooter, an electric one that you can, you can sit in and it'll drive for you, or you hit the little stick, a little joystick, and it moves. The reason I'm trying to do that is he basically has to use a walker. I posted a video, a short, the other day on my X account. I encourage you to go in there and watch it. It was pretty impressive. My mother took him out to. My mother and my stepfather took him out to a restaurant, and he insisted on walking from the building to the parking lot. And it took him a while, but he did it, and it's really awesome to see that. But he struggles to get around, and I think a wheelchair like that would be great, would help a lot. And I had mentioned it to my mother the other day, and I don't know if she remembers it or not, but I told her I was going to start this fundraiser, and I'm keeping it from my brother because I want to surprise him. We live 6 hours away from him, so what I'm going to do is once we hit that mark, one way or another, I mean, we're going to hit that mark, I have no doubt about that, but I want to hit that mark, and then I want to have it sent to his house and surprise him with it. It'll mean a lot to him. He's been through a lot, and I wish I had the means to do it, on my own, but I've got a house full of kids myself, and, we're pretty tied up. So I've never done a fundraiser before. I'm not exactly sure what I'm doing, how it all works. I'm just trying to share it as much as I can and tell everybody about it as much as I can. So if you'll look in the description for this video, I'll put a link in there so you can check it out. If you can't donate, that's fine. Just I encourage everyone to share it and tell your friends. And, word of mouth helps a lot. Word of mouth is just as influential and strong as, physically sharing it or anything like that. So just like I said, I encourage you to tell your friends and stuff, because this is a big deal. A big deal for my brother. He's like I said, he's been through a lot. He's got 2 kids, and he's in a position now to where he physically can't take care of them, and it's taxing. My mother is having to take care of him full time. My mother and my stepfather. And then my siblings went in where they can, but we're all married. We all have kids and lives and work and stuff like that. So it's a lot. And my mother's stretched pretty thin, trying to take care of everything. So I just want to help out. That's it. I just want to help out. And I'm gonna stop talking about it before I get emotional. Anyways, if you enjoy listening to me ramble about motorsports, cars, or anything like that, make sure to like, subscribe, leave a comment, turn on notifications. The works. Follow us on Facebook and X. The link is in the description. If you're interested in diecast cars, t-shirts, hats, any kind of racing memorabilia, check out our eBay. The link is also in the description. If you see something you're interested in, shoot me an offer, and we'll go from there. So without further ado, let's get into the rest of the video. So Jeff Gluck he reposted something that someone else had said. Jeff Gluck is a reporter for NASCAR. I don't think he actually takes a dime from NASCAR. I think he's an independent journalist, but regardless, he covers NASCAR. And someone had basically lumped all NASCAR journalists into the same category, basically. And he was taking offense to that. But I think the reason that everyone lumps these guys into the same category is you would be hard-pressed to find a motorsports journalist who scrutinizes the sanctioning body on a consistent basis where it's needed. Now, I don't think you should go out there and you should scrutinize every decision that they make, but there's certainly a lot that could be scrutinized right now. And most of these guys aren't doing it. There's another YouTuber who has a pretty popular channel. I saw Jeff had posted about it earlier that he's getting an interview. I'm not going to mention any names of who the YouTuber is. His initials are 2 E's. And he's got an interview set up with Steve O'Donnell, which is great. That's cool. Good for him. Will he ask Steve O'Donnell questions that need to be asked? That remains to be seen. I don't put a lot of stock into it, just because, and it's nothing against him, it's just because no one ever does. I would imagine that Steve probably says something, or his team says something before the interview. Hey, this is the way that it needs to go. These are the questions that need to be asked. Let's not go down this road, and let's not go down that road. That's not a real interview. It's just propaganda. That's all that is. And it's annoying to me. And I'll give you a prime example, and I'll put the link to this article in the description so you can read it yourself. Racer.com, who I have a ton of respect for, because they do a lot of good work. And they have their own network now, and they broadcast the British Touring Car Championship to an American audience that hasn't really been able to watch it unless you do BTCC streaming service or whatever it is. And so that's cool, and they cover a lot of motorsports that don't get a lot of spotlight. Awesome. All for that. But their headline story, I just checked it 5 minutes ago, is NASCAR doesn't have a playoff problem. NASCAR has a playoff eligibility problem. No. I mean, yes, that is a problem. But the playoffs themselves are also a problem. And this is the general tactic that most in the media take is, we know that there's a fundamental problem here, but what we're going to do is talk about this instead. It's what the sanctioning body does. Yes, we know our playoffs are broken, but what if we just change the schedule? What about that? I know you guys hate the format, but we're thinking of replacing Mexico with Chicagoland next year. So it's nonsense. And you jump on X, and 90% of the conversation is about the schedule. And we're not talking about the car that there's been virtually zero effort to fix since it's been incorporated. There's been complaints left and right, left and right, left and right. Yet, nothing's been done. The only thing that has been done is Goodyear. Goodyear has taken up the challenge to come up with a tire that will wear and give a kind of a comer and goer feel throughout the races. That's it. Like the fundamental issues with the car have not been addressed, and they've shown no interest in doing so. Despite everyone, and now we're to the point where everyone within the industry is being vocal about it. Not everyone, but a lot of people are. But then you have people like Racer.com who are just glossing over the actual issue, and we're going to focus on a sub-issue that, while it is important, is not a primary concern at this point. There's far bigger issues. There's bigger fish to fry, as they say, than that. And look, I know if you follow this channel, when I talk about NASCAR, I complain a lot. I know this. I'm sorry. I try to look for the positives where they are, and sometimes there are some positives, and I'll talk about it. But it's just the fact that this sanctioning body under Jim's leadership is so incompetent. It's incredible. And what I would love to see is, and maybe I'll just do it myself, we need a Robin Miller in NASCAR, covering NASCAR. If you'll remember, Robin would, IndyCar, or basically anything that he covered, if there was a stupid decision that was made, or if there was something that wasn't working, he would call it out as plain as day. No reservations about it. Just call it out like it is. I think that's the situation that we need, an injection of that into NASCAR. And Jeff Gluck, he'll do it from time to time, but it's very few and far between. I mean, like I said, most people toe the line. I'm not saying anything bad about Jeff. I have no personal issue with him. It's, you do you, man. It's whatever. We need scrutiny where it's warranted, and rather than glossing over it, taking shots at people who actually say something about it, trying to smear them. I'm not saying Jeff Gluck does that, but there's a certain crowd that does. That needs to stop. Someone told me the other day, I think I was complaining about the car or something, and they were like, well, there's no point in complaining about it, so you might as well just figure out a way to enjoy it. Well, if you keep your mouth shut and don't say anything, it will certainly never change. Most of the biggest decisions, biggest changes that have happened in the sport, if you believe what the sanctioning body says, has happened because people were complaining about it. It's just a fact. And so I encourage everyone, if you see something that you disagree with, just be vocal about it. Don't be rude. Don't be hateful. Don't take shots at people who have a different opinion. I know that's like the common thing to do now, in 2025, because everyone's got a screen in front of their face and there's no verbal communication with one another, so you just feel like you can say whatever you want to. Now, there's no sense in being rude and ugly to each other. But disagreement is a good thing. It's a healthy thing for the most part if it's handled the correct way. So, and speaking of disagreement, Casey Mears is going to be running Daytona for Garage 66. Garage 66, which is Carl Long's team, the MBM Motorsports. And what I don't understand is Casey was out of the car forever. Like, hasn't been in a Cup car in years. He ran Martinsville. And so because he ran Martinsville, that means he's ready to jump back in a car at Daytona? What? Why are we just allowing anyone to show up and race? I don't get that, except for Mike Wallace, obviously. You see, Mike was going to run Daytona, the Daytona 500, and NASCAR was like, well, you've been out of the car for a long time, so no, we're not going to let that happen. But Casey Mears is totally fine. Elio Castroneves, who has, no experience in a Cup car, totally fine. Catherine Legg, yeah, come on. Mike Wallace, nah, probably not. It's just absolute. It's baffling to me because there's not another professional motorsport series that I'm aware of. I mean, there may be one, but at least off the top of my head, where they will just let anyone show up. I mean, it's like, well, Supercars has done it in the past, and it didn't turn out well. And so that really doesn't happen that much anymore. Supercars back in the early teens, they would have, I guess, enduro races where they would do driver swaps, and the reserve drivers or the drivers who would start the race or what have you were always guys from other series. So you had James Hinchcliffe would come and run, Simon Pagenaud, guys like that. But it was usually, there were some gnarly wrecks is what I'm trying to say. And so they kind of phase that out, and it's not really what happens anymore. Most of the guys that are, when they do the enduros and they switch out, are guys that are in the sport, whether it be in the Dunlop series, what have you. Formula One certainly doesn't have it set up to where you can just show up if you can finagle a way to get into a car and drive. I mean, there's a super license system, and you have to have points and all that kind of stuff. That's the way that NASCAR should be. I mean, they want to sit here and brand it as the top step of motorsport on this continent. Yet, essentially, anyone with a motorsports background can just show up and run in Cup. And we saw what happened with Catherine Legg at Phoenix in her first start. She wrecked, twice, and then took out, I believe it was Suarez, who was running top 10. It's just, obviously that's going to happen. And that's nothing against Catherine. She's a good driver, but obviously it's going to happen when you have no experience in those kind of cars and you just get thrown in the deep end, obviously. But anyways, if you enjoy listening to me ramble about motorsports, cars, anything else I feel like talking about, make sure to like, subscribe, leave a comment, turn on notifications. If you're interested in diecast cars, t-shirts, hats, or any kind of racing memorabilia, check out our eBay, and the link is in the description. Follow us on Facebook and X for more motorsports content. And also share the GoFundMe for my brother, or tell people about it, shout it from the rooftops. Any help on that front would be greatly appreciated. As always, thank you guys for watching. Until next time, God bless. See ya. Peace.